This one is called In the Wilderness, because we're in like a spiritual wilderness, it seems, in the world. I had a worldly day last week, and it was just followed by contrast to reality through the Holy Spirit. That's like, you can spend the whole day like collecting dopamine, and then when you like come back to reality, right? You come home to God, you're like, it's not reality. Like, it's not lasting. It's not lasting. And this week, especially, just this week, like last week was different. This week, especially, gearing up for something. I feel like I'm like totally in the wilderness. Totally in the wilderness. Like in the world, in the wilderness. Just with God. And consistently I hear this is not the life I planned for you. So what does that say? That says that evil is at an all-time high right now in the world. Evil is at an all-time high. Because if you have a worldly day, it doesn't really match up with reality through God's eyes. And then you're like in the wilderness, and it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. It's better. It's better to be here. Praise God. Oh, praise God for you. Thanks, Michael. It's better to be here, honestly. Like I feel more secure here. I go out in the world, I don't feel secure in the world. Don't feel it. What does that mean? What could that mean? What could that mean? So A to B, what could that mean? Something has to change, like in a very big way. Catastrophic event. You know, my clients and I, we joke that clients and friends, we joke that like the only thing that's gonna like change anything is like an alien invasion, and we all laugh, but we mean it. We mean it. The only thing that's going to get people's wits about them is like an alien invasion. But the aliens have already invaded. You know, this is my criticism from some of the most alien people I have encountered, is they are just like aliens in human bodies, and their entire personality is geared towards how it appears to be human. And then their target is usually over somebody around me. But when I encounter those who are targeted, their consort are just a bunch of like alien people, dude. Like the aliens aren't coming, maybe they're leaving. I don't know. They're showing their true face. Non-terrestrial humans coming to make things right. I'm like, the best way I could describe the worst people I've met since 2016 is they're like aliens in human bodies trying to appear as if they're human. And their entire personality is geared towards like consistently collecting data on what it appears to be human, how to appease the humans, how to appeal to the humans, basically. And, you know, they've really taken over, dude. Like, darkness is really taking over, dude. And so, in this week, it's spring break here in the South. And God always said, I'm not going to do anything when the kids are in school. So, down in the South, like, the kids are not in school. And it's Saturday coming upon Sunday. But I do feel good. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel really good. Don't get me wrong, I feel really good. Like, as the days go on and I'm deeper in the wilderness, like, I feel better spiritually. But the material life is like dwindling. And like if I try to do the material life, it ain't there, dude. It ain't there, man. Nah, it ain't there. Like family gatherings are good. My family's not here with me in Texas though. My family is like spread out, mostly in New York. That I have to look forward to. Exercising I look forward to, but anyways, I had more to say about this. Yeah, so if maybe it's a high watch time, because God always told me like I'm not gonna do anything when the kids are in school, and like the kids aren't in school, they're in spring break down here. I already said that, but I'm gonna repeat it. And dude, we're like Saturday, Sunday. But every night that I'm just like, go to work, come home, pass the time, go to bed. God's like, this is not the life I had planned for you. Not saying, so if somebody was translating this through the lens of Satan, then they would feel some kind of pressure to do anything different. So I'm not saying that God is pressuring me to do anything different. It's like exactly what I would do naturally. And at the same time, he's like, yeah, this is not the life that I had planned for you at all. This is not it. So what does that mean? So what does it mean when God's people are in the wilderness in this world, and we're living a life that is in the wilderness, and we can't go out into the world because we can try and we can do it, but it ain't fruitful. There's nothing to gain. You just money to lose and time to pass. This is not the life that I had. So what does that mean? All this being said, what does that mean to you? Does that mean that the world is sustainable the way it is right now? Definitely not. Definitely not. What does that imply? If God says night after night, this is not the world, this is not the reality I had meant for you, without Satan would say, oh, go do something different. And I've been like walking this path for years where the world was always trying to get me to conform to it. You know, partners and relationships were always trying to get me to conform to them. Because what's funny about the spirit of the Antichrist is you get the spirit of the Antichrist through your love of money and your narcissism. But the irony is, when the money is gone, the love is still there. The money can be taken away, but the love is always going to be there. And that could largely reveal the true nature in a lot of narcissists who are actually not narcissistic necessarily. They're just men of the world, right? Men with their money. And I want your money. I want the money. Don't get me wrong. That's a huge thing. So in all my years of hairdressing, I've learned from women, they were like, I just wrote a list of all the qualities that I want in a man. And then I met my husband. And if you write a list of all the qualities you want in a man, I mean, a lot of those qualities are generosity, money, generosity. Naturally, the way things are boomeranging back is like, women were not really, I mean, you can, but it was like, we're supposed to be the 100% caretakers of our home and our children. Like, that's a full-time job. That doesn't stop. So if a woman is like 100% caretaker for the home and the children, then like 100% of the income has to come from the father, the dad, under God through his job. But the problem is, it's like the way that men make money in the world, it seems, is very corrupted. So this natural order of God's will is corrupted now because the men are making money through a spirit that is connected to the whore of Babylon. The whore rides the back of the beast. This is Revelation 17:8. And it comes with a possession. So then they are possessed. And then they superimpose their possession through the way that they make money over you. So a man can never truly provide for a woman because it always comes superimposed with the bad personality that he gets from the way he makes money, which is through the Babylon system, which is an antichrist spirit. So there's a disharmony, and God says, this is not the world I meant for you. This is not the reality I meant for you. This is not anything I meant for you. And it seems like darkness has taken over the world so bad to the point where it's really disrupted God's will in the way that he was meant to provide for a man who can provide for a woman who to provide for the household. And so it can't, in this world currently, it can't really come to fruition. But the irony is, if we're looking at it right now, that money can be taken away, the love cannot be taken away. The money can be taken away, the love cannot be taken away. So when the money is taken away, then the regret comes. The regret of men and the decisions that they have made come following a threat to the money. This is a big problem in America. This is a huge problem. This is everything, really. Check your comments. Oh my God, my favorite people are here. Rage in the chat. Rage in the chat. Feels like I ended up on the worst timeline somehow. I know, right? But in every sci-fi movie, doesn't it get like so bad before it gets like so good? That's what we can learn from every sci-fi movie. Every sci-fi movie was like, it was the worst thing ever. You were gonna die, and then like heaven breaks loose. So keep that in mind. Always bend my way ahead on AI. I mean, speaking of AI, it does feel like this superimposition over men is very AI. So I was saying in my previous video how I connected with a sister in Christ because tragedy hit her life. She was married and her husband just like fucking changed. And I was asking all these questions, and like we were like talking and fellowshipping, and I'm like, dude, it's like an algorithm that Satan runs. So like everything that's happening to the men of God, it's like a blueprint. It happens to all the men of God with wives. They all do the same shit. They all say the same shit. The enemy is attacking them so bad. And the irony is, it's not that they don't love us. It's not that they don't love you. It's just the enemy comes in and he runs a script just like a robot. It's very AI. It's very robotic. And he's running it on all these men who are supposed to be providers to the women and the children, coming between the family unit and God's creation. And this is Revelation 17:8. The beast throws off the whore. All at once, people will think it to be a miracle. All at once, beast throws off the whore. They won't do it willingly. It has to happen forcefully, which could likely happen. I don't know. Financial collapse of some kind could happen naturally. The irony is, if the woman is home, she's keeping the garden, she's keeping the chickens, right? Like, she's keeping sustainability. While the money brings sustainability, the woman maintains sustainability outside of money. This is the funniest thing. It's like the irony of the enemy. We're all in this together. That's right, Rage. I wish the internet would just get zapped already. A return to analog technology. Yeah, I watched Woodward TV this morning, and he did a recent study on doom scrolling, like the way you scroll through the internet. You can see this in yourself. Woodward TV, WTV, he was like, the way that people are just like mindlessly scrolling through their phones, he says it like does something in the part of the brain that is concerned with decision making. So he says it's really disrupting. Women don't have the luxury of poor decision making because we bear children. So whether you have children or not, the fact that a woman bears children, we don't have the luxury of not being responsible, right? It's just like hardwired in us to like not be indecisive. So I think it's mostly for men that are doom scrolling on the internet. So the study found that because the phone itself is giving you a decision-making process all day, every day, You're deciding whether you like something, you don't like something. You're making decisions on how you feel about every political post, every news article. You're doom scrolling. You're making a decision all day long. So what it's doing is it's disrupting the decision-making process of people. And then when it comes to real life, they can't make a decision. They can't do anything because their decision-making part of their brain is fried through the decisions they make all day long based on what they see in the Black Mirror. So it says it's really halting the evolution of humanity because of the decision-making, like, stronghold. And this is a huge problem too with commitment. It came up like commitment. It wasn't tied to relationships, but it was like people can't commit to anything. They can't commit to a plan. They can't commit to anything because they spend their entire day making decisions. Their brain is freaking fried. And then when it comes to their personal life and real life, like, they can't do anything. They are disabled in their day-to-day life. And it's a side effect of the cell phone. So it would pay for the phone to get zapped because then reality would pose itself for what it is instead of being distracted. So that was the other thing about the study is they found that men largely choose distraction in their off hours because it avoids them making any decisions in real life. And my biggest criticism for the men that I love and the men that love me is they are completely disabled with manifesting real life into what's in their brain. So I could say, if you really loved me, then I would be the center of your world. If you really loved me, I would be the center of your world. I would be the center of your everything. And why is that not translating into real life? So then the argument would go that the man would say, well, you are the center of my world. You're everything I think about. I think about you all day long. You're all I think about. But then why isn't the man manifesting what's in his mind into real life? This gives testimony to what the Woodward TV experiment was finding is that the man is thinking something, but the man cannot create what he's thinking into real life because he's spending so much time being disabled by the decision-making process he makes all day long. Because there's no lie. The love is there, the money goes, then the priorities change. If the phone goes, then the decision-making process is no longer inhibited. So if a man loves a woman and that's all he thinks about, why is he having a hard time manifesting reality in his brain into the real world? Because you know that ideas come from a female. So, and this is like scientific too. The idea comes from a female principle. Man loves a woman, female principle. He loves a woman, that's in his brain now. The second step is men are supposed to be able to manifest reality based on what's in their mind. So this is where Satan is coming in and he's changing the total algorithm so it only serves Satan's will, not God's will, because the man, inhibited by the technology and the money and the ways that they make money and the obligations they feel to the people that are giving them money, is inhibiting the ability to manifest what's in their mind into reality. This is exactly what's happening. Feels like stories will be told, honored after we're dead. Perhaps. I mean, I would rather die than settle for less. So if the men of the world cannot make their brains manifest reality, when man can no longer make their brain manifest reality, and it's like a sealed deal, like they can't do it anymore, then me as a woman, the subject of their affection, I would rather die. I would rather die than live in a world where being the subject of a man's affection because that's what I am as a woman. I'm not trying to be a girl boss. I'm not a super feminist. If I am the subject of a male's affection in the center of his world mentally, and he cannot manifest that into reality, and it's a sealed deal and it's done, then I would absolutely rather die doing me a favor, going home to Jesus, because Jesus could do that for me, because Jesus is the only one doing that for me. Men are not doing it. Men are not manifesting Jesus's will. Hey, Joe, welcome. Michael says, we're learning how to use technology without it using us, but it takes a lot of willpower. Exactly. It's like men need to learn the willpower. I think that women spend a lot more time researching the things that I research because we have a lifestyle that allows us to do that. But I think that men are so overworked and over-influenced by their physical world, they don't necessarily, and I know you're a man, so like, but you're a man of God, like, you know this, and you can absorb this material. Men of the world do not have the luxury of this free time to research the things that women are researching. So it's like, to learn the willpower, where would the information come from? If it doesn't come directly from them searching it out, or Jesus, I know you're a man of God, like through the Holy Spirit. But a lot of men in the world are not followers of Jesus because they're followers of Lucifer, because Lucifer was the god of the world. So if they want to make the money and they want to provide for the family, they have to think like Lucifer. And the imposition over Lucifer is that it comes with the imposition from Satan. That is the algorithm that is disrupting this divine connection between God, man, woman, reality. There's a disruption now. It's just Satan, man, disruption, and then the women in reality are like this, and God says this is not the reality I planned for you. This is not the life I planned for you. We're in the wilderness because of the disconnect between man and God. Satan posing as God. There's a disrupt now, so that the women and the children that could be, that are not here because nothing's happening, there's a disrupt in the way that creation presents itself in this world. And if that was God's final plan and this world is not for us, and like Rage said, I would rather not be here. I'd rather go in the rapture. I would rather be out. Rage says, it's interesting, my parents talk to their phone as Siri as a primary method. It's getting integrated. Meanwhile, texting is preferred communication. I never talk to Siri. I know, I never talk to Siri, never talk to AI, but I don't like dislike AI, because if I'm in the salon and I'm talking to my clients about like real stuff, I do notice that my algorithm is listening, obviously, and then I'll open my social media and it will usually be some kind of like therapy or some kind of advice about exactly what we're talking about. So speaking of like narcissistic men, I mean, and we're not bashing men, don't get me wrong. Like, none of the women of God are bashing men. We're just like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So I was talking with a client earlier and we were chatting about like relationship stuff. And then like while her hair color is processing, I open my phone and it's like a meme from 2 days ago. So it's not even like recent. And it said that a narcissistic person is going to prioritize other people's needs above their family. And this has been my experience. Because of this algorithm disruption, I find that the lukewarm men of God that are like still making money and operating in a very big way, I'm talking about men that have a lot of money. I think that if men would just kind of like freaking curtail it a little bit, like I know Michael's in here, like Michael knows what it's like Michael works for himself. I know you work for yourself. I know you got your own schedule. And then I see the odd jobs that you take because you can't be owned by a company that pays you a ton of money. But men that are owned by companies that pay them a ton of money, they have this imposition over their spirit. So they always feel obligated to outside sources, no matter what it is. they'll just leave their family and they will just go and do whatever this outside source, if it's spiritual, if it's like a lot of witchcraft, if somebody has harboring a spirit that is connected to the money and they want help with whatever, the dude will leave the wife and the children and will go and help like said person who like virtually means nothing to them, but they feel this obligation. And this is the spirit of narcissism in men. They will just, I opened my phone and it said a narcissist will leave their family to go and do an obligation that they feel to somebody who basically means nothing to them. And I experienced this phenomenon, and it's the weirdest thing ever. If somebody tells my boyfriend Lauren is crazy, whether he believes it or not, he's like, I know she's crazy, right? That's a crazy girl. With Christopher in the beer brewing industry, like I never did anything to Christopher to make him think that I was crazy. But if people are like, Lauren's crazy, right? The people that are giving him money, he would virtually say nothing, giving them permission to continue to trample over his life and his destiny. And I don't even think about him anymore. He's long gone, but this was a huge thing. It's like my connection to the beer brewing industry, the beer conspiracy was like, it was like I was collecting this data, being with him, connected to these people for so long. And then finally, one day I just decided to blow the whistle. And then forever on, they were like, Christopher, she's crazy. Christopher, she's crazy. Like, don't stick your dick in crazy, dumbass. And he never really responded like, yeah, thumbs up. But he never shot them down. He never said like, shut the fuck up. That's my girlfriend. Shut the fuck up. He actually went along with like everything these people were saying. And that was a huge dumpster fire, right? That was a huge harvest. Because why? That's where the money was coming from. But I was never crazy to Christopher. He never called me crazy. I never did anything to make him think I was crazy. In fact, he was the one that was opening his eyes to me that was like, dude, these people are fucked up. Like, that's the irony. Like, before I ever said anything, just him and I being together, he was the one that was like, dude, they're fucking abusing goats and like nobody's paying attention. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, oh my God, they're abusing goats and no one's paying attention. Before I ever said anything, he was like, these people are like abusing literal people and no one's fucking saying anything. And I was like, oh my God, people, they are abusing people. And I see that now. And then I went out and said something because I went out and publicly said something on his behalf. Then everyone told him I was crazy and he never defended me because that was where the money was coming from. This was many years ago. I don't even think about Christopher anymore, but this was many years ago. And it was like, the irony is like, everyone's calling you crazy, but the things that I was saying came from you. And it's so ass backwards because nobody listens when a woman speaks. Like, people only listen when a man speaks. So in a perfect world, if I could just tell a man my conspiracies about the people in our direct vicinity, I'm not talking crazy conspiracies that don't affect me. I'm talking about people in our direct fucking vicinity. Excuse my language. Like, dude, I see some stuff that like I can't unsee. And I don't want to say it because scientifically, this is scientific proof. People do not really listen when women speak, but people really listen when a man speaks. So in a perfect world, if I observe pedophilia and I point it out and it's substantiated by a man, he should then say something. I mean, this day and age, I feel like pedophilia is so rampant and it's mainstream, like everyone's aware of it. But back in the day when it was not mainstream and I pointed it out, it was like very like it was big news. It was like, dude, you had to tell us. So no men were telling anybody. I had to do it. And the weirdest thing is, I think when I came upon pedophiles in Austin, Texas, I think my natural inclination was to like tell the men that I love, and then they would naturally go and like be like, dude, fuck you, you sicko. But it didn't happen. It happened to the point where it was just God and me, and I had to tell the public. Like, I had to tell everybody. Like, I had to do all of this on my own with God. Like, again, still, like, in the wilderness with God, dude. Because the men of the world have this algorithm that is basically a virus hijacking their ability to do. I wouldn't even, okay, so if they're not even like, oh, I'm Christian in God's will, like, no, just the natural order of the way things go, I should have never had to do anything I had to do. And that's why, like, when I met my Muslim boyfriend 3 years ago, and he called me a strong woman, and I profiled him as one of these, like, men of God, and he called me a strong woman, and I'm fucking crying because I had to spend all this money on this car. I had to learn how to drive standard in one day. I was exhausted. It was hot. I was sad because it was such a desperate situation. And he tried to give me a compliment saying I'm such a strong woman, but I already profiled him as one of these people. And I finally was like, you know what? Like, usually I'd be like, okay, thank you, whatever, just be polite. But I decided to let him have it that day. Maybe this is why we came to be where we're at. But instead of being like, thank you, I was like, I already profiled this guy as the reason to why I am a strong woman. And then he calls me a strong, and I'm like, honestly, dude, I'm really sick of being a strong woman. It's not a compliment. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And I didn't really go much further than that. But if I did and I wanted to be a bitch, I would say, and it's men like you is the reason why I have to be so strong. Is because of men like you is the reason why I'm in the position that I'm in. And the most generous thing that they could do was simply give me money. Because I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm fighting for my life, basically. I'm fighting for the truth. And if you hate me, if you love me, at that time, I was so broke, I was so poor. It was like the best thing they could do was just give me money. And then, you know, it wasn't shortly after where I didn't have any friends or any family. And it wasn't shortly after where I reconnected with my father. My father has a lot of money, and I know my dad loves me, but I didn't talk to him for like a year. And the way that he has like shown his love and like redeemed the situation was like his generosity with money. So it's like the irony is, if you can't see what I'm seeing, if you can't respect what I'm doing, you need to help a girl survive, right? Like, and not just survive. Like, my dad has been so generous. Not only am I surviving, I'm thriving because of him. Because I feel like for like a year, like the enemy really had him and we didn't speak. And he was not a cushion for me to fall on. And when everything piled up and it got to the point of homelessness and to the point where I was literally just buying the cheapest freaking car I could find, you know, and that kind of like woke him up. Like, my daughter is in such desperation. I've been distracted. And then now, even if he doesn't see everything the way that I see it, he's super generous. And then this is the irony. So I was writing a list, like my whole life being a hairdresser, all the women I've ever met that found their husband, they said they wrote a list of every quality they wanted in a man. And then, boom, they found him and they got married. So, like, for the first time ever, I'm writing a list about all the qualities I want in a man, knowing that most men in the world are very fallen. Really fallen. They're not. I've never dated a Christian man. None of my family are Christian men. They're probably more so Luciferian. They just do the right thing, right? They're just convicted by the Spirit to do the right thing. And in the list, because knowing what I know, a lot of it has to do with money, generosity, having a mind of their own, like won't just accept any old friend, right? Like won't just take money from anybody, won't just, it was like money and then the restrictions around money. Like, okay, so you're just getting money, but in my list of like a partner that I would see fit, because I know that a lot of men are fallen in this world, I'm not looking for a Christian man because I know that is not in the cards for me. I know that. I understand that now. Looking back on all my relationships, a lot of it pertained to money. A generous man who wants to provide for a woman, who her happiness and her health is directly connected to his happiness and his health. Generosity, like doesn't get like frazzled over money, doesn't like attach emotion to money. The men just get money without any kind of spiritual imposition connected to it. My parents raised me this way. They said, get money, but do not attach emotion to money, whether you have a ton of money or whether you're lacking in money. My parents raised us, do not attach emotion to money. And I do believe that was one of their greatest blessings, was their ability to sustain abundance. Was my parents were never super obsessed with money, and they were never super like cheap. I'm like, I don't want a cheap man. I don't want a man that is ever going to be cheap towards me, because if you have a wife, she depends on you. You should just want her to have everything that she wants within reason. And, with like seriously within reason, because I know a lot of these women out here are like gold diggers who want like Coach bags and freaking Louis Vuitton bags. I'm not talking about that. But like a lot of the lists that I was making outside of like character qualities, a lot of it had pertaining to money. So I feel like the men in this world, like the way their relationship with money is everything. And I connected with a sister in Christ recently through tragedy. It's just seemingly out of nowhere. Her husband asked for a divorce, and I knew both of them just from YouTube. And I'm like, I can't believe this. What the hell? And I'm talking with her because I felt like this happens to me. And the first thing I asked her was, because the enemy was really coming in to him, and I know exactly what's going on. I'm like, I know this dude loves this woman, and I know that everyone I've dated like loves me, and I know that the first thing that freaking happens is some kind of satanic attack over their money. So the first thing I asked was, did he like come upon money or get a new job or whatever? And she was like, no, but he's obsessed with money. And I said, that's where the enemy creeps in. The enemy creeps in through the money flow in this world. And then us women are like left in the wilderness basically because of this. It's like a chink in the hose. There's like a watering hose where the abundance and the money flows through the man, and then Satan comes in like the enemy, and he twists the hose, and then they say it's the woman's fault. And she said that the spirit in him was saying, you're the reason why you're going to disrupt my money, which couldn't be further from the truth, because there was no disruption in his money. There's never been a disruption in the money of a man when a woman comes in to enhance his life. But the enemy tells them, he gets into their head and he says, she's going to disrupt your money flow. Even though in my experience, since 2015, 4 partners, same exact situation, it never was the case. In fact, they made more money. It was just a lie from the enemy telling them the reason, you're making more money is because you got rid of that chick. And if you took in that woman, then she would disrupt your money. This is the chink in the hose of men, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And it's just that simple. For God's will, it would be to unravel that chink in the hose. It would be to shut out the enemy. Vanessa, I love you. So good to see you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Vanessa knows. I mean, like, women of God know because we all experience this. It's like some weird disconnect between the money flow to men to women in the house, in the family. And the enemy comes in and he just like twists the hose in the man's brain where like it's gonna somehow be disrupted, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Being strong is a necessity when all the privileges are gone. So that's exactly what I'm saying, is the money can be taken away, but the love cannot. So if there was a catastrophic event, and if Revelation 17:8, the beast throws off the whore of Babylon, the stream in which the money they think is coming from, then it would be something to where a catastrophic event reveals to men that that money can be taken away. And in that moment, without that distraction, you're going to remember who you love. Michael, yes, we need women to help us remember our jobs and fight for our families. I know the irony is a woman makes you money. Like, I literally did the math last year because my Muslim boyfriend was rich and he wanted to like keep me home, but he was like super demonic in this way. And I literally did the math, and it was my phone costs $40, my car insurance costs $50. I literally cost $90 a month to be kept. And also, if a woman is home and she's growing a garden and you're not having to pay for groceries, so that negates the cost of a woman. Now she's making you money. She's now making you money because she's growing a garden and keeping chickens. So the whole thing is so ass backwards. And I'm not like mad about it. I think people are just finding this out like for the first time ever. I literally did the math and I was like, dude, I cost nothing. I have no debt. My car is paid for thanks to my dad. My dad bought me my car. I just have a humble car. I don't have like a nice car. I have like a perfect car that's going to run forever. That's why I love it. I got everything I need, dude. I just want to stay happy, healthy, thin. I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to be fat from all this like GMO fucking nasty food. That's important to me too, is staying thin, healthy, happy, and beautiful. That should be every man's concern for his woman. But they do, like, the enemy comes in and they just cause problems and cortisol spiking, and then just like, the enemy creates such an imbalance in men that there's no like, what do you call it? They're so double-minded that there's no consistency in them. And then they're not like committing to anything. And the irony is everything they ever wanted. There's nothing better out there. There's nothing better out there than the woman that you love. There's nothing better out there. And they know that deep down, but they're so distracted from having the realization itself. Vanessa, yeah, living off the land, like, it's not super hippy dippy. It's reality. It's not hard. God's children. Yeah, bless you, David, and your kids, Michael says. Hey, we were bought with a price. We are very valuable. Yeah, we were bought with a price, right? Like, Jesus paid for everything on the cross. So when I talk about the chink in the hose, and that's such a lie, it's because Jesus already bought us with a price. So the enemy says, I gotta chink this hose in the minds of men, and they believe the lie. The enemy says that woman is going to drain your money. She's going to hurt your money. She's going to hurt your money flow. But it couldn't be further from the truth, because like Michael reminds us, we were already bought with a price that Jesus paid on the cross. And the abundance flows freely through him under God's will. Thank you so much for saying that. I so appreciate you for saying that. Michael says we were bought with a price. We are very valuable. We are very valuable. And I think a lot of the prodigal sons of God attach themselves to women that are fully saved because of just polarity. They're not fully saved. And then the enemy comes in trying to gobble up their minds, saying that the woman is draining the money. because they're not fully saved, but through their affection to the woman, that's their avenue to get saved. If it weren't for us, they wouldn't do it. If it weren't for us, they might never find an avenue to Jesus, to being under that covenant that we were bought with a price. The debt has already been paid. I can't believe this video is as long as it is. Wow. A good one. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to you guys in the chat. This was such a rich chat. This was such a rich live chat. So I appreciate all of your input. This was so valuable to me and to everybody. So thank you for saying something and provoking conversation. So that's it for now. You're the right kind of people. Love y'all so much. Have a beautiful night. And I'll talk to you again really soon.